is another episode of Tony Kent Writes and Cross-Examines, or writes and had a little bit of a chat, but there's already a show called Tony Kent Chats, and we couldn't call them both the same thing. So we're using cross-examines and then not cross-examining. Today, we have got, excitingly, the author of the upcoming thriller Hunted, who, for the purposes of Hunted, is calling himself Alex Knight. You may know him already as the author of one of my favourite series, the Carter Blake series, Mason Cross. So don't be confused that I'll be calling Alex Mason. That's down to his publishers, and he'll tell us all about that.
That's my fault, yeah.
Mason, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yep. I've decided the best way to differentiate is Alex has the beard. So if I go back and write a Mason Cross book after this, I'll have to shave. I
was about to ask that. So Alex is a man who is sort of quarantined on a desert island somewhere, it seems.
Yeah, I think Alex is. I think I described the look I've developed into recently as Tom Hanks in Castaway if he had access to a lot more food.
that is definitely the one difference, isn't it? Have you noticed that though? Have you noticed that with this lockdown that we're all getting far less exercise, and
yeah.
It's kind of stopped now, but for the first month we were all so obsessed with shopping and making sure. I don't think anyone can shop for the week anymore, and we've all had to start shopping for the week. And I don't know about you, but I bought far too much, and I've put on about a stone because you sort of, well, I can't go to the shops again. I can't put the food to waste. There are starving children in Africa. We need to eat it. It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, we had so much stuff stockpiled, so it was, yeah, I mean, we were, when everything just kicked off, we thought, okay, we need to make sure we've got pasta. As long as we've got pasta, we'll be okay. So we've still got about 15 kilograms of pasta stashed away, so we'll be okay for that for quite some time. But yeah, I've found that I've been having kind of second dinners at night, just because it's like every day is kind of the same, and you end up falling into these sort of terrible routines of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I might have another snack. Actually, I'll sort of make something a bit more substantial than a snack, and I'm probably going to have to cut down to 3 meals a day. I think that's going to be my diet plan. Is the 3 meal a day diet.
Well, I've basically filled my entire day today with interviews, ostensibly so that I've got a lot of content to put one out every day. But actually, it's just so that I can not think about eating. I've just got no time to cook or to snack, and so I might actually get a fast day in. And
that's the only reason I'm not eating this house, because I'm talking to you. So thanks for that.
I'm trying to offer a service. So Hunted. Now, as you know, and as anyone who watches my other shows on here knows, I'm a huge fan of Carter Blake. However, for me, Hunted is the best thing that Mason Cross, whether he's calling himself that or not, has ever written. So tell us a little bit about it.
So Hunted is a standalone thriller, so not part of the Carter Blake series or related to that. I have slipped in a couple of things that put it in the same universe as Carter Blake, so frequent readers of the series might find those. But this one is just one of those books that I really like to read, where it starts off with a hook and hopefully just pulls the reader in. And the hook in this case is something called an Amber Alert, which if you're in the United States, you'll probably know what this is. But basically, when a child is abducted in America, they can send a message to everybody's cell phone within a particular area, whether it's opted into the system or not. So it's not a text message, it's something goes out to everybody's smartphone as long as it's switched on, and it just basically gives all the information that's pertinent to the case. So if the child's been abducted, who the child is, their description, a description of the abductor, if they've got it, if they've got a vehicle or anything like that. And the idea is you've immediately got 4 million eyeballs looking for this one person. And I thought, that's a sort of really interesting use of technology, and something that could be really scary if it went wrong. And that's what happens in this case, is basically the wrong guy is identified as the abductor, and he has to go on the run and find out what's happened.
So you create sort of a situation where everyone is potentially the enemy, even though they've all got the best of intentions. Everyone is potentially the enemy. It's kind of like that scene in Fallen. I know you've seen Fallen, Denzel Washington, where everyone It's chasing them by passing.
Yeah. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. That's a really great analogy. The one I had thought of was the 70s invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it's just this, and that's kind of why I picked San Francisco to set it in. It's just this idea of all of society slowly turning against you, and everybody being a potential predator, almost. So basically, anybody who's got a cell phone, which is anybody, can be somebody that can shop you to the police. So I thought that.
And yet these bad guys are actually not bad guys. They're all there. They're doing what they think is right. Because
that's the thing that hopefully makes it compelling. Is that everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing, and if you hear that some guy has sort of shot somebody and abducted a child, you immediately assume that he's the bad guy. And in most cases, it will be the bad guy. But that just seemed to me that would be terrifying to be the person at the other end of that if it had gone wrong, and everybody thinks that you are, the worst sort of person, and they can help the police hunt you down, or even worse, what if somebody finds you and decides not to go through the police route?
That's a gun culture.
Into their own hands, and just to think, literally everybody in the state is out looking for you. How do you cope with that, and how do you stay under the radar, particularly with social media and CCTV and everything you got in this day and age?
Yeah, it's a fabulous book. You sent me up on an e-copy, and I don't have a Kindle, so whenever I get an e-copy, I read it on the screen that I'm looking at now. And I'll be honest, I hate reading books on that screen, and yet I think I read it in 2 sittings. I couldn't put it down. It's one of the very best books I've read in years. It's fantastic.
Oh, wow.
When is it out?
So it's out on June 25th. And that will obviously depend on whether any bookshops are open, but it'll be available online, and obviously an ebook. So it'll be interesting. It's weird. I mean, you've gone through this yourself, launching a book during a pandemic. It's how do you actually mark the occasion, because you can't do all the things that you normally do?
It's the marketing that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, I do understand from what I read this morning. I read an interview with John Daunt this morning, and what they're planning to do with Waterstones. And Waterstones will be opening fairly soon as part of the lessening of the lockdown. So by the time you're out, Waterstones will be open, and hopefully, obviously Waterstones being closed really hit me with Powerplay. We're doing quite well with Powerplay in Tesco's. We've sold, I think, 2,000 copies in 2 weeks. Which is pretty good, but the problem is Tesco's is the only supermarket that's selling books. The rest of them aren't selling them. But hopefully by the end of June, they all will be. So we're not going to be back to normal, but hopefully you'll be in a better position, because this book deserves to be out there. And the question is the marketing, isn't it? How do you get the word out about the book? Yeah,
and I suppose everybody's in the same boat. So from the sort of biggest sellers to the smallest ones, everybody's having to cope with how do you sell books when bookshops aren't open, supermarkets are selling toilet paper instead of books in that section. So it's tough, and I think everybody's just going to have to look back at 2020 with an asterisk and say, well, things went a certain way that year because of the obvious. So it's going to be interesting. So
it will be. I think there'll be a lot of bankruptcy
on the day the book comes out. I always have a lunch at Waterstones. I always go out for dinner, and that routine just isn't going to be there now. So
well, I very much hope for your sake you'll get your dinner. No, I can't. I don't think. I'm not sure that social events at Waterstones are looking likely in the foreseeable future, are they?
Yeah.
It's a shame, but it's interesting to see what people are doing. I mean, even this thing that I'm doing here. We're all getting very used to the Be Live and Zoom and all those things, and I mean, people are really trying to pull out all the stops to make a difference.
And I think a lot of the stuff is going to carry on even after lockdown eases a bit. And it's actually really good that everybody's had to get up to speed with Zoom and Be Live and all this stuff. And some of the stuff like you'd want to keep doing afterwards anyway. I mean, I was in a quiz with a bunch of other authors last Friday. Craig Robertson was the quiz master, and it was great because we just sort of told people from all over the UK, and had actually an event that worked really well considering the limitations on it.
I didn't watch that quiz, unfortunately, because I'd been roped into a family quiz and there's no way out of it. But those things are. It's great to be able to talk to you, for example. We normally see each other 3 or 4 times a year at various festivals. It's nice to speak to you sober. It's
That's probably a first.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing to do, and I agree with you. I think we'd be crazy to not let it carry on. I really do. So anyway, back to the book. Alex Knight. So Mason Cross is the author of one of my favourite series, and now Alex Knight is writing. Why the change?
So I think because this one was a standalone, it kind of felt like Mason Cross writes the Carter Blake books, and if you pick up a Mason Cross book, you know you're going to get Carter Blake having to find somebody who doesn't want to be found, and all of the usual elements that take place in that. And this just felt like a slightly different sort of book.
Yeah.
And I wrote a standalone before this, set in the UK, called What She Saw Last Night. And again, with that one, they slightly tweaked the name, so it was MJ Cross rather than Mason Cross. And I just felt it was a good way of signposting to the reader that this is a different thing.
Yeah.
And there are other sort of benefits to that as well from a marketing standpoint. It's a new book, but it's also a new name. So it might encourage people who might be worried about picking up book 6 or 7 in a series to think, oh wow, this is brand new. There's only one of these books. I can read this and it's done in one. And it just felt like a good opportunity to slightly reinvent myself for this book. So I don't know if I'll sort of stick with that for the next book, which is also standalone. I'd like to go back and write some more Mason Cross books in the future. So hopefully you've not seen the last of Mason Cross. But in some ways, it's quite good to have various different identities.
No, I agree with you. And I really do get what you're saying about the Mason Cross writes Carter Blake. And Carter Blake is a particular thing. And so, no, I get that. I wonder whether I'll have to do something similar if I ever decide to deviate.
I'm sort of I'm getting really confused with all the different Twitter handles that I've got. So there's downsides too.
Yeah, that would worry me. So I've got a few questions that I've been trying to ask people, and I've got 5 of them, as you know, because I have asked in advance, and I don't think I've got past 2 of them so far in any of the interviews I've done. But I want to ask you one in particular, and 2 if I can, if we have time. But we've only got 3 minutes left. So the first is music, books, films, or sport. What is the biggest influence on you?
Okay, so all of these things do play in, I would say. I'm quite unusual. Coming from Glasgow, I'm the only Glaswegian that doesn't like football. But I do like some sports. I love basketball. Used to play when I was younger. I like watching the tennis. But they're probably sports probably not as big of a factor in my life as the other 3 things there. So I think that's an easy one to put aside to begin with. As an author, I probably should go straight to books. But I think I'm actually going to go for movies as the one thing that I would pick.
Well, I thought you'd go for that. I've got a theory that your answer to that question, any author's answer to that question, is one you can guess in advance from the kind of books they write. And I had you down as films, fairly strongly. Right, well, just under 2 minutes left. So, apart from adaptations of your own books, if all the stars aligned, what would be your ideal project?
Ideal project isn't actually in books. I would love to write Batman. I've always been a huge comic book fan, and I would love to just have a go at writing the regular Batman monthly or Detective Comics.
So the comic, not the movie, the comic.
Yeah, love to do the comic. I mean, I've always wanted to write comics, and I think actually tying in with movies as well. When I write books, I'm always thinking quite visually and thinking, how would this look like in the movie? Who would play this character? But also just the visual language of comics has always been something that I've been really interested in as well, because you can do different things with a comic than you can do with a book. You can show things visually that you wouldn't be able to do without describing for a couple of pages, which would kind of
and the budget just doesn't matter, does it? Because you can write
exactly,
you can draw Galactus, for example.
Exactly, you do not have to worry about budget or hiring 5,000 extras. So no, I'd love to write comics, but particularly
I love that answer, because I've got a number of answers to that question, but one of them is I'd like to write Superman. So, it's an interesting answer. I wasn't expecting that, actually. And I think
I always think Superman would be tougher to write because he's so powerful.
We've only got 20 seconds left, but we'll talk about this off camera, because I have a theory that you embrace that, and that's what makes it great. Okay, right, 10 seconds left. Mason, Alex, author of Hunted, author of Carter Blake, thank you very much for coming along. I'm going to cut us off now, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.